I'm Sarai.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Seamwork Radio. Welcome back to Seamwork Radio, where we share practical ideas for building a creative process so you can sew with intention and joy. And today we're talking about one of my absolute favorite topics, sewing for travel. So we're going to cover 6 tips for creating a travel capsule wardrobe that's practical, packable, and still feels like you. And I'm also going to share my own plans for a trip I'm taking with my mom to Paris this May and how I'm using these tips to build a wardrobe and what's going to be really like going into my suitcase for this trip. So I'm excited to talk about that. All right, let's talk about our icebreaker for today, Haley. Tell me about a time when you packed something you made and either totally saved the day or you regretted bringing it.
That's dramatic. I don't know if something like that, like if anything has ever like saved the day for me like that. The memory that's standing out to me is when I went to Hawaii maybe 15 years ago, and I decided I was going to make myself a swimsuit. Granted, I had made swimsuits before. I'd never made a swimsuit for myself. So the stakes felt higher somehow. But I made myself a swimsuit. And whenever you go to like a place like Hawaii or somewhere where you're going to be swimming a lot, you always bring like multiple swimsuits because there's, in my opinion, very few things that are as gross as putting on a wet
swimsuit.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
The swimsuit that I made, I swear, like I wore it 90% of the time. I was willing to put it on wet because I preferred it that much to the other swimsuits that I brought. It was just fit me perfectly. I did not feel like I was going to have like a nip slip or like any wardrobe malfunction. And it was, I think because I was able to put so much thought into the front end of it, designing it and making it just so, I just felt so comfortable in it. So when you're like swimming under waterfalls and like in the ocean and snorkeling, like it just like I had like a lot of like confidence that it was going to do what I needed to do and that I just like felt good in it. So I feel like that was my like real hero piece from that trip. And when I think of that trip, I think of that swimsuit.
Oh, that's kind of cool how it's tied in with memories of the trip.
I also was positive that Eric was going to propose to me. And I was like, what if it's on the beach and I'm in a swimsuit? It needs to be really cute. He did not.
And now the swimsuit's full of disappointment.
I don't have disappointing feelings about the swimsuit. But when I came back from that trip, everyone was like shocked that we weren't engaged.
Like, nope.
I told him that later on. He was like, "Oh, it never even occurred to me to do it."
It never occurred to him.
Really? Really? That's interesting.
Oh, that's pretty funny. But I feel like a swimsuit is one of those things where it makes such a difference because it's such a highly functional piece, but it's also something you can kind of feel vulnerable in because so much skin is showing. So I feel like it's one of those things that it's great when it's done just right to your specifications.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, the thing that came to mind for me is I think one of the things that I really love to bring on a trip, no matter what, is a button-up shirt of some kind. And I made this linen one several years ago, and I packed it on a trip that we took. We were going to Sicily, and we were stopping in Istanbul for a few days. And I was really glad I had it. First of all, a button-up shirt will help protect you from the sun. You can kind of wear it either as a shirt or you can put it over anything. So if you have like a sundress or something like that, you can just throw it over as kind of like a little lightweight, not jacket, but kind of cover up. And that was really helpful, especially in Istanbul, because we did visit a lot of mosques in Istanbul and you need to dress very modestly when you go to a mosque. So having something that covered all my arms and shoulders and everything was really, really helpful. But it was also really helpful just for sun protection. And it's the kind of piece that you can wear in a bunch of different ways. And that's always really, really helpful when you travel. But, if you're going to a place where modesty is an issue, like if you're visiting mosques or if you're visiting churches, as you travel, it's really helpful to bring a piece like that. So that was one that came to mind for me. And now I never travel without some kind of button-up shirt.
It is an essential for any traveling that I do, especially in like a warmer climate. I have to have a white linen button-up.
Yeah. White linen or chambray. Those are my two favorites. Keep you nice and cool, and you can wear it in a bunch of different ways. All right. Well, if you have an icebreaker for us for a future episode, you can leave a question for us in a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or in a comment on Spotify, and we'll answer it in a future episode for you. All right. Well, I've been thinking a lot about travel lately and travel sewing because I have this trip coming up in May, and my mom and I are going to Paris together, and it's something we've been talking about doing for years, and I really want to make it special, and that includes what I wear. So the thing is that when you're packing for a trip, especially one where you're going to be walking a lot and you're going to be dealing with different weather because it's going to be spring still, it's kind of, the end of May, so the weather's a little uncertain. You might be dressing up for a nice dinner or two. So you just can't throw, your whole closet in a suitcase, even though there's a lot of different circumstances when you travel. So you have to be really intentional about what you bring. And that's actually where sewing gives you such a huge advantage, because when you sew your own travel wardrobe, you really get to design pieces that work together, that fit your body, and that suit exactly what you'll be doing. But it does require some planning, because you can't just sew random things and hope they'll all work together in a carry-on, because that usually, for me at least, that doesn't happen. So today, Haley and I are going to share 6 tips that I've been using to plan my Paris capsule, and you can use these for any trip that you're planning as well. All right, Haley, do you have any trips that you're thinking about sewing for coming up?
My next trip that I have is in June. Eric's family always does a family trip every year, and this year we're going, our exact location is not picked, but we're thinking somewhere on the coast of Central California. His family is like very into wine. So we thought that was a, kind of a must for them.
Yeah.
But it's going to be family and kids. And so I'm starting to think about what kinds of things I might want to be wearing. One, to wineries, to be hanging out in the backyard and swimming in a pool, and taking kids to like the beach. So that's like my next trip that's on my mind. I'm working on my spring wardrobe plans now, and since the trip is in early summer, I'm trying to consider it as I plan for spring a little bit as well.
Yeah. Nice. That sounds really fun. That sounds like a fun family trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Unconvincing, Haley.
I feel bad. No, I am looking forward to it. It's just like so much logistics to plan. And I think, and of course, then my head goes immediately to what I'm wearing and what I'm sewing. And I think that on any trip really, but especially a trip like this, I want to pack so well that I don't have to think about my clothes while I'm there.
Right.
So no pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, because you do want it to be easy once you get there.
So easy. And I don't want to feel like too like momsy. I want to feel cute.
Yeah.
But also I need to be mom mode. I need to be sport mode activated.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about sewing, is you can bring all of those requirements together, I feel like.
Totally. So I'm in the very beginning phases of planning for this. I'm hoping that walking through these tips in today's episode will help me to get a little more clarity on my needs.
Yeah.
So when you travel, do you tend to bring mostly handmade clothes, or is it a mix?
I would say that it's evolved over time, because my wardrobe has evolved over time. And, I'm on this journey to create an 80% handmade wardrobe, which I talk about on YouTube quite a bit. And I feel like I'm getting there. Like my wardrobe is more and more handmade, and I definitely wear handmade stuff a lot, pretty much every day. So I feel like nowadays it's mostly handmade stuff. And I am planning when I go to Paris to bring, other than maybe, a couple pairs of pants or something like that, to bring mostly handmade clothing. So it kind of reflects my overall wardrobe, I would say. What about you?
I would say that I usually end up bringing, it depends on the trip, really.
Mm-hmm.
If it is a trip that is, a lot of times I find like these trips where it's a family trip, I need more functional pieces that maybe it leans more 50-50.
Yeah.
But when it's like a fun trip, a girls' trip where I get to like dress up, wear more my fun clothes I tend to be more of my handmade clothes.
Yeah.
So then it can be much more of like an 80-20 experience for me.
Yeah.
But that's just because I really enjoy sewing like fun things.
Yeah.
So it really depends.
Yeah. I think I would say in the past, my answer would be very similar to that. I feel like nowadays, because I'm trying to sew more of my own wardrobe, I am starting to think a lot more about practicality when I sew and what are the things I actually wear so I can make more of those and bring the funness to some of those basics.
Totally.
So I feel like that's shifted a little bit for me. And I feel like travel is a good opportunity to think about that. Think about what's practical and what do I actually want to wear when I'm traveling, because that usually transfers over into the rest of my life because it's stuff that's comfortable and you can move around in it, and it's probably stuff I'm going to want to wear afterwards.
It can be like a fun kind of like prompt to think about like your wardrobe on this smaller scale that tells us a lot about like the big picture of what we want. I will say that I will always sew something for any trip.
Yeah.
There's no trip. Like I cannot think of a trip that I've taken where I haven't sewn at least one thing specific to the trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's so fun. Plus you get the memory embedded in the garment of what you sewed it for, that you made it for this special occasion.
Yeah. I also like have a love-hate relationship with high-pressure sewing situations.
Yeah. It gets the adrenaline flowing.
It really does.
All right, well, let's get into our tips. So we've got 6 tips that we wanted to share today. And the first one is to start with your destination and activities rather than your fabric stash. Because I think it's so tempting to just start with what you already have, which is what I often do when I'm planning out my wardrobe and my sewing for the season. Because you see a beautiful fabric and you think, oh, this would be perfect for my trip. But I've learned the hard way that this approach can lead to a suitcase that's full of things that don't quite work for what you're actually doing. So instead, start by really thinking about where you're going and what you'll be doing. So for my Paris trip that's coming up, for example, I sat down and made just a quick list on my phone. So we're going to be walking a lot. We're going to be going to museums. We're going to be walking around neighborhoods and markets. And we'll probably have a couple of nicer dinners. And then I thought about the weather. The weather in May can be kind of unpredictable. It could be warm. It could be rainy. My mom went to Paris a few years ago in May and it was rainy the whole time. So you just never know. So you got to think about all those kind of constraints when you're planning a travel wardrobe like this. And then once I had that list, I could really start thinking about what kinds of garments would actually serve me. So it's a little bit like packing in reverse because you're designing your suitcase before you sew a single thing. So that's a really good place to start, I think, is just thinking about kind of, in Design Your Wardrobe, we call it your context. What are the things that you're going to actually be doing while you're wearing this wardrobe? And I find that a really, really helpful place to start in this case. Haley, do you do something like that when you plan for trips, even if it's just for packing and things?
Yeah, 100%. I like to think of my context, and then I usually will outline a few ideas for some formulas that I feel like, outfit formulas that I feel like fit that context really well.
Yeah.
And that's always my starting point.
That's a really great point. I think that's a good second step after you've thought about what you're going to be doing is, what are some repeatable formulas you can use?
Totally, because I'm the type of person that I typically don't want to pack something unless I'm am going to be able to wear it like multiple different ways. And so coming up with formulas helps me to do that really well. Our next tip is to choose a tight color palette and then stick to it. So I think this is one of the most important things for a travel capsule. And it sometimes can be easy to overlook when you just are like excited to sew something for the occasion. When everything in your suitcase works together color-wise, you can mix and match like I was talking about, and it just like so much more easily. I like to pick 2 or 3 neutrals and then 1 or 2 accent colors. That way, almost anything can go with almost anything else, and it makes it like a really great like mix and match situation. Especially when I'm leaning into outfit formulas, which I really tend to do. I think about it kind of like a capsule wardrobe, but even more focused because you don't want to bring your entire closet, but you still want to have options because I'm the type of person who wants to get dressed for how I feel. And so having things that can mix and match allows me to do that really a lot more easily. So for example, color palette wise, if your neutrals are like black and cream, your accent color could be like a dusty rose. And then suddenly the cream top works with your black pant. Or it could even work with like a rose colored skirt. Or you can layer it under a black cardigan. You have like a lot of like mix and match options here. Sari, I want to know about your Paris color palette.
Actually, you kind of just described it. I'm bringing a lot. I like to travel with black and white. I just think it's the easiest way to mix and match. And I do tend to wear a lot of black and a lot of cream anyway. So I have that already in my closet. So that's the main thing. I'm going to have some navy because I'm going to be making a denim skirt, a denim orless skirt to bring with me. So, and I feel like that goes with just about everything as well. And then my other accent color is a pink. So a few different shades of pink in there. I think different shades of pink can look nice together. So I think it'll be very cohesive and be really easy to mix and match. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm really excited about everything that I'm making for the trip.
I can't wait to see it all come together. It's such like a dream location and like for planning outfits.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to film some of it, at least the outfits, while we're in Paris for a YouTube video. So if you guys want to see, I'm already working on a video. I think it should be out by the time you guys are listening to this on what I'm sewing. So if you want to see my sewing plans, it'll be up on YouTube. And then after the trip, I'll post a video showing everything I wore. So that'll be really fun to put together. So the next tip is to prioritize versatile silhouettes that can be either dressed up or dressed down. And I kind of touched on this when we talked about bringing a linen button-up shirt. I think that's one of those pieces that fits exactly into what we're talking about. Because when you're limited on what you can pack, each piece kind of needs to work a little bit harder. So I've personally been gravitating towards simple shapes that can really go from day to evening with just a change of accessories or shoes. So a simple knit top, for example, can be dressed up or down with trousers and sneakers for a day of walking, or tucked into a skirt with nicer shoes for dinner. And I'm also thinking a lot about layers. So a lightweight cardigan or a jacket that can go over multiple outfits is really worth its weight in gold when you're traveling. The key is really to avoid anything that's too specific. So, if you want to bring something that's going to be really special, maybe a sequin top, might be really gorgeous, but if it only works with one outfit, it's probably not earning its place in your bag. So I like to think about things that can go either way. It's always nice to have maybe one really, really special thing for that you're only going to wear for a night out or something, or if you're traveling for, a wedding or something like that. But by and large, I like to have things that can work in multiple contexts. Do you have any go-to silhouettes for travel, Haley?
I think I have 3 that I lean into the most, specifically for spring, summer travel. I love like a fitted t-shirt paired with either like a wide cropped pant or a midi skirt, which is really like similar silhouette,
Yeah.
just like different separates. And a shift dress.
A shift dress is nice.
I have a black linen shift dress that I pack on almost every trip I take in warmer climates because I can wear that with sneakers and like a cute scarf, like silk scarf during the day, or I can like dress it up with like a really cute cardigan and earrings and like flats or heels at nighttime. It's my go-to versatile dress.
That's an easy one. I like that. I think mine are a couple outfits that I really like to take it when it's warmer, in the warmer weather, are a knit tank dress, preferably black. Any kind of neutral work, but black is nice. And I feel like it's something that you can wear during the day and you can dress it up at night, put on some nice jewelry or a scarf or whatever, and still look pretty put together if you're going to a restaurant or something. So that's one of the things I like. It's great for, if you want to throw that linen shirt over it, you're done. Another one I really like is a trouser and a striped top of some kind, because stripes just instantly look put together.
Yeah.
I think they look like you made an effort, but you're really just wearing kind of a t-shirt and pants. So that's one I really like for travel as well. I don't know if I'm gonna pack stripes for Paris though. It might be a little on the nose.
Yeah, that's I feel that.
And a beret.
Definitely pack stripes and a beret, 100%. All right, next let's talk about fabric weight and packability. So the sad news is not all fabrics travel well. And this is really something to consider when you're choosing what to sew. Heavy fabric takes up tons of room and adds weight to your luggage. If you're a carry-on girl like me, this is like a no-go. And also, they can also be uncomfortable if the weather is warmer than expected. Layers are always the way to go for traveling. I love lightweight linens, rayon challis, knits for travel. These are all my go-tos. They pack down small, they're comfortable, and they tend to breathe really well. You might be thinking like, well, linen wrinkles, but honestly, I've made peace with that. A relaxed linen look can be really beautiful, like especially in a European city. I also am the type of person who unpacks when I get where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so my linen is getting hung up right away. And I'm not I book places with an iron. An iron is a must for me. You'll also want to think about how fabric holds up to being folded. Some fabrics crease really badly and they never quite recover. And it's not quite as charming as it is on linen, like velvet, for instance.
Yeah.
Not charming with permanent crease marks unless it's crushed velvet. And there's other fabrics that you can shake out. You can hang up in the bathroom while you're taking a shower and the steam does the trick. So that's the next thing I always take into consideration. Sarai, are there any fabrics that you're avoiding for your trip to Paris?
I don't know about avoiding, but I'm definitely thinking about weight. As far as the fabrics go. I'm planning to pack some of my fig cardigans that I made in merino, and it's nice and thin. I think merino is great for travel. This merino is fairly lightweight, but it's great for layering, and it keeps you warm, and it doesn't smell.
Yeah.
It doesn't absorb sweat and get all stinky. So I really like merino for travel if you need an extra layer for keeping warm. But I wouldn't say there's anything I'm avoiding, but I am thinking about things like, is it going to wrinkle? Is it going to wear well over the course of a day? Those kinds of things. And also, how's it going to fit in my suitcase? Traveling in the spring and summer is so much easier than traveling in winter.
Yes.
For that reason, because those layers.
Yeah, I just went to San Francisco 3 weeks ago, and Eric was giving me a hard time about our luggage, which all four of us fit into 2 checked everything into 2 checked bags.
Mm-hmm.
We just brought a backpack on the plane with us. So I felt like that was really good.
That seems good.
I'm like, this is outerwear and like denim and shoes for the entire family. So
yeah.
Deal with it. Carry it. It's easy for me because I always make him carry everything through the airport.
Yeah, that's the winter travel is kind of a bummer for that reason.
It is a bummer.
All right, the next tip is to plan for laundry and to test your fabrics first. This part might sound kind of unromantic, but I think it's important. If you're traveling for more than a few days, you probably will need to do some laundry. And that means your travel wardrobe needs to be washable and it needs to be quick drying. So before I finalize anything for this trip, I'm definitely going to be washing and drying my fabrics the way I would on the road, either hand washing, wringing them out, or hanging them to dry, all those kinds of things you often have to do when you travel, when you don't have access to a washing machine. Some fabrics dry overnight, others take forever, and they end up smelling kind of musty. So you want to know this before you're in a hotel room or wherever you are with a wet dress that won't dry, for example. I'm also packing a little bar of travel laundry soap, which is, a small thing, but it means I can freshen things up as I go and just pack less overall. Do you have any laundry hacks for travel, Haley?
I'm a big fan of a hotel sink, little laundry sesh. Also, I think I mentioned this already, but hanging up a garment. I always hang up all of my stuff when I arrive at my location, even if I'm only going to be staying for a couple nights. And then anything that is wrinkly goes into the bathroom and hangs out in there during my first shower. And usually that does a really good job of at least relaxing the wrinkles.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
If you are staying somewhere where you have outdoor access, it could also just be really helpful to just simply maybe something that you don't necessarily need to wash, like an outerwear piece, but maybe you feel like it needs a little refresh, put it outside overnight. It can be another great tip for kind of refreshing things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good tip. We're staying in an Airbnb, so we have access to a little patio. I think that's a really good tip.
All right, next is build a hero piece that makes you feel amazing. So we've been talking a ton about practicality, but I don't want to lose sight of the joy here.
Laundry's not joyful, Haley?
I mean, not for me. But yeah, not having to do laundry is joyful.
That is, yeah.
I think travel is really special, and you want to feel like yourself. For me, I want to feel like the best version of myself, my romanticized version of myself when I'm traveling. So making sure that my clothing reflects that slightly elevated version of myself is key. I always recommend including at least one hero piece in your travel capsule, something that makes you feel really amazing when you put it on. Maybe it's a dress that fits you perfectly, or a beautifully made jacket that you're going to be able to wear frequently during your trip, or a great pair of pants that you look really fantastic in, or a swimsuit you think your boyfriend's going to propose to you in. You get the idea. This piece may not be the most practical thing in your bag, but it earns its place because of how it makes you feel. It makes you feel really spectacular. And I recommend at least having, I prefer a 1 or 2 hero piece moment because I'm extra like that. But I highly recommend it. Sari, do you have a hero piece planned for Paris?
Yes, I think so. I have a dress I'm really excited about making for Paris. I haven't made it yet, but it's one of our upcoming patterns. I don't know if it'll be out. You can tell me, Haley, after I describe it.
Okay.
It's a bias cut dress with a high neckline and a tie at the neck. And I love a bias cut dress. I just think it feels really comfortable. It looks good on me. It's something that, for me, it has a lot of nostalgia to it because I wore them a lot when I was younger. in the 90s. Is they're just so, I don't know, just something so pretty about it. And I'm making it in a rayon crepe, which is like a ivory color with black polka dots. And I just think it's going to be so pretty. And
Cute.
I'm really excited to make it. And then I'm going to layer it with some of my handmade cardigans, and it's going to be beautiful. And I think it's the kind of thing that I can wear out to dinner, and I can also wear during the day with, some comfortable walking shoes and go to museums and things like that and feel really put together. So I'm very excited about it.
That's one of my, the dress you're describing is the Frisia dress. It comes out just like 2 days after this episode drops.
All right.
So it's one of my favorite things from our spring lineup. So I recommend everybody go and check it out because it really is. It's a really special dress. It's beautiful.
It is really pretty, and I'm super excited. I think the fabric for it, I think it's going to be at my house when I get home today. So I'm really excited to check it out and see.
It's so perfect for a polka dot. One of the photo samples is a polka dot as well.
Nice. Yeah. And I want to make it in a lot of different fabrics. So we'll see. We'll see how it comes out. And I have a lot of different ideas for customizing it too, which will be fun. All right. Well, we shared a lot of tips today. I want to give one more tip, going back to our color palette discussion earlier. So this is something I've been thinking about as I planned out my color palette for this trip. And I was trying to find some walking shoes, since I'll be walking a lot, that would go with all of these dresses that I'm making and skirts that I'm making. So I wanted them to be not sneakers, but also I'm going to be walking on a whole lot. So I wanted them to be comfortable. So I was looking at a bunch of different options, and that brought to mind one other tip, which is I think that metallics are kind of underrated when it comes to travel because they go with everything and they look a little bit fancy. So I'm looking at some like metallic silver shoes to bring that are like walking shoes, but they look cute, So that's another thing you might want to think about if you can incorporate some metallics, like a metallic silver or gold or copper or whatever it is, can fancy things up, but still mix and match with a lot of different things. So that's one more little tip.
Yeah, I do red shoe.
Yeah, red is another one I'm thinking about. I'm trying to decide between silver and red because red also goes with just about everything.
It also goes with like pretty much at least most of the colors that I prefer to wear.
Yeah, me too. So that's another one I'm thinking about. I did find some red kind of Mary Jane style shoes that are made for walking. So
I have a red Mary Jane. I love it. But silver sounds great too.
Yeah. There's just so many better options for walking shoes now than there used to be. I feel like everything was like Danskos in the past, which I love Danskos. Don't get me wrong. But, it's a look.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let me recap what we covered today. The first tip was to start with your destination and activities and not necessarily your fabric. Number 2 is to choose a tight color palette and stick to it. Number 3 is to prioritize versatile silhouettes that can be dressed up or down. Number 4 is to think about fabric weight and packability. Number 5 is to plan for laundry and test your fabrics first. And number 6 is to build in a hero piece that makes you feel amazing. All right, well, let's talk about our takeaways because I think my big takeaway is that sewing is, a travel wardrobe, really any kind of sewing and any kind of capsule planning, but especially when you're doing a travel wardrobe, is really just about making very intentional decisions. You're kind of designing this little collection that all works together. So every choice you make, whether that's fabric or color or silhouette, it really matters. And it's a reminder that sewing is really just all about decisions, and that when you make those decisions thoughtfully, you just end up with something that really serves you and serves your real life, your purpose, So that's kind of what I took away from it. I feel like sewing a travel wardrobe is like this little microcosm of sewing in general. So that's one of the reasons I love it. What about you, Haley? What's your takeaway?
I think that my takeaway is, I think it's less of a takeaway, more of like a reflection as we're talking about travel capsules. I'm just reflecting on the worst packing jobs I've done and the best packing jobs I've done. And I've definitely done them both. And I think that the times where I've really nailed it is where I was really honest with myself about the things that I feel and look my best in, and then like turned up the volume 10%.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. If you could have one takeaway from this, I think that that is the best packing advice that I could probably use on my upcoming trips.
I like that. That's a really good one. I like that tip. All right. Well, speaking of special pieces for travel, I want to talk about the 2 new patterns we have coming out this month because these are both perfect for a spring or summer trip. And in fact, I am making both of these. I've already talked about one of them for my upcoming trip. So let me tell you a little bit about them. The first one is the Orchid Jacket. So this is a boxy tie front bed jacket with lace trim. So think wide sleeves, a sweet little tie closure at the front, and a relaxed fit that layers beautifully over dresses or simple tops. So it's the kind of piece you could just throw on over a sundress for a cool evening, or you can wear it with trousers and a camisole. And it works in light to medium weight wovens like cotton, linen, voile, even a floaty georgette. There's a lot of different ways to make it. I'm making mine I'm deciding between 2 different rayons. One is like a rose pink satin rayon. The other one is a more orangey jacquard. And I'm going to be adding some lace, some kind of vintagey lace trim to the edges. It's going to be so pretty.
Cute.
I'm really excited about it. It's going to be great over a really basic tank dress like the one I talked about earlier. And then the second one is the one that I already mentioned, which is the freesia dress. So this is a pull-on bias cut dress with a keyhole neckline and a tie closure. And the bodice is cut on the straight grain with gathers to shape the bust. And the skirt is cut on the bias. So it has this really beautiful fluid drape. It's really romantic, but it's also really simple. And I think it would be really stunning in something like a crepe, like what I'm going to be sewing it in, or you could do like even a lightweight linen blend. There are a lot of different ways. I think a handkerchief linen would be so, so pretty.
Oh, so nice.
There's just so many ways you can make it for, different looks depending on your style. And I think both of these would make I think they're great additions to a travel capsule, which is why I'm making them for mine. And they're, if you're looking for a hero piece for your own travel wardrobe, they're both good choices. And if you're a CMRC member, you'll be able to download both patterns as soon as they come out. And if you're not a member, head over to cmrc.com and you can learn more about joining. And if you like this episode, we would love it if you would leave us a review. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a 5-star review. And if you have a question for us that we can use in a future icebreaker, you can leave it there as well. You can also follow us on YouTube at CMRC Video. You can follow us on Instagram at CMRC. And if you'd like to become part of the CMRC community, head over to cmrc.com to learn how to join. And that's it for us this week. I'm Sarai.
And I'm Haley.
And this is CMRC Radio.